Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight to the Grand Rapids Public Museum, the Van Andel Museum Center, and the Meyer Theater. My name is Dale Robertson. I serve as president of the Grand Rapids Public Museum, and it really is a pleasure to be hosting this tonight. It's part of an initiative. I'm going to say a little bit on it here and then turn it over to Dr. Tony Baker, but it's an initiative that actually was created in a conversation, Tony and I, a little bit ago, a couple years ago, called GR Stories. And so you might think, well, but you're a museum. Well, we do have some history of collecting oral stories, but as you know, it's really artifacts and specimens, 250,000 by the most conservative count, 98% of which were donated by the people of West Michigan over 170 years. But each unique specimen or artifact always has a story, and it is the story that makes the impact. I happen to think, I am a lawyer, right? So I get to look at facts and all that, but then I can make an interpretation, I can make an argument. So my interpretation, my argument of things and how the world works is that, yeah, we like to think we look at data and facts, we do, but really how we make decisions is based on narrative. And a narrative is a story, and it is the stories that touch our minds and our hearts, and that's what informs our actions, but it also brings us together where my story becomes your story can become my story. And so that really is the whole foundation and the idea behind GR Stories is that these young people, these stories you'll hear tonight will go into our collections. Our collections are free and online and available, and they are there in perpetuity. And so when others come and they want to look and they want to learn, they have this source that you are creating tonight, this source will be available for all anywhere in the world to access. So that's brave, and I appreciate that you are doing this. So I'd like to introduce Tony. After the first event that we held, and it was on the history of the Polish halls, and Tony said something about, imagine if the whole community could become a community of storytellers. Yeah, that's a really noble goal, and that is also very typical Tony, to have that kind of insight. So I'd like to welcome my good friend, professor at Ferris State University, former member and president of the Grand Rapids Public Schools Board of Education, and former Kent County Commissioner, Dr. Tony Baker.
Thank you so much, Dale, and the staff of the Public Museum that keeps indulging these ideas. You know, I'm going to change this motto. It says, be curious in Grand Rapids, but be curious out loud. And the way this happened is I was curious out loud a couple times. I was curious out loud in front of Bing Goy, and he said I should meet with Alice Kennedy. I was curious out loud with a couple other people, Nicole Lamb, who said I should meet Lei Tran. And so we began to do this work, and I was in the library one day doing this work and ran into history professor or teacher Matt Vriesman, who was doing the same work, and before we know it, we're creating this event. So being curious out loud in Grand Rapids is a really wonderful thing to do and creates these GR stories. This particular story is so significant in the context of our country deciding and debating the role of refugees in our community. I grew up, I'm a similar age to Lei Tran, with Vietnam War as a backdrop. The story of Vietnam was part of our popular culture. As we began these conversations with the Ford Museum as well, how to incorporate the legacy of Gerald Ford's work, the politics of 1975 kept getting into this, and meeting these young people who you're meeting tonight, you saw on the visual panel, this is the legacy of policy, and this is the legacy. And so no one can argue with how wonderful our community is as a result of these young people being a part of it. So that makes this an incredibly special evening. So with that, I'm going to introduce Ms. Lei Tran.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Kentwood administrators. Thank you for taking the time to come here to listen to our students. Isn't that what it's about? Listening to our students as they tell their stories so that we can hear ourselves in their stories and they can hear themselves as well. As an art teacher, my core philosophy has always been to inspire others. And when this project was presented to me, my first thought was, how am I going to inspire these kids to tell their stories? At first, there were a lot of resistance. My mom and dad don't want to tell their stories. That's typical, I understand that. We're very private people. We don't want everybody to know our stories. But I said, but we need to hear your stories because you are a part of this community and the community don't know you. The community don't know the stories of the Vietnamese refugees and their immigration stories and how they, settle here and how they make a life. And look at how successful our students are, right, administrators? Especially this group right here in the first row, amazing scholars. And so I think Matt and I have done our job with inspiring these guys to tell their stories. And so tonight, I invite you to really listen to their stories and what they have to tell you. So thank you for taking the time to come here. And let's begin the program. It's my pleasure to connect our community celebrities, singers, to the stage. Our opening act will be sung by Cường Lương, or we call him Lương Chí Cường. He's well known in Vietnam. Cường, are you ready? Yeah. All right, let's go.
Chung khẽ ngọt cho con trèo hái mỗi ngày. Quê hương là đường đi học, con về giữa bướm vàng bay. Quê hương là con diều biếc, tuổi thơ con thả trên đồng. Quê hương là con đò nhỏ, êm đềm khua nước ven sông. Quê hương là cầu tre nhỏ, mẹ về non lá nghiêng tre. Quê hương là đêm trăng tỏ, hoa cau rụng trắng ngoài thềm. Quê hương mỗi người chỉ một, như là chỉ một mẹ thôi. Quê hương nếu ai không nhớ sẽ không lỡ nổi thành người. Quê hương là chùm khẽ ngọt cho con trèo hái mỗi ngày. Quê hương là đường đi học, con về thả trên đồng, quê hương là con đò nhỏ êm đềm khua nước ven sông. Quê hương là cầu tre nhỏ, mẹ về non lá nghiêng tre. Quê hương là đêm trăng tỏ, hoa cau rụng trắng ngoài thềm. Quê hương mỗi người chỉ một, như là chỉ một mẹ thôi. Quê hương nếu ai không nhớ sẽ không lớn nổi thành người. Quê hương là cầu tre nhỏ, mẹ về non lá nghiêng tre. Quê hương là đêm trăng tỏ, hoa cau rụng trắng ngoài thềm. Quê hương mỗi người chỉ một, như là chỉ một mẹ thôi. Quê hương nếu ai không nhớ sẽ không lớn nổi thành người. Quê hương nếu ai không nhớ sẽ không lớn nổi. Thank you very much. Xin cảm ơn quý vị. Thank you chị.
Song is about our country, Vietnam, and it's like a branch of ripened star fruit. So, like the fruits, you know, it's gotta be with a part of the tree, otherwise it's not gonna grow and be sweetened. So the next song is going to be sung by 3 singers, and I have asked my sister to sing the song from the northern part of Vietnam, and then the central part will be sung by my nephew, Khoa, and then the southern part, Thu Hương, a dear friend of mine. So this song represents the 3 regions of Vietnam. Singers, are you ready? All right, here we go.
một yêu câu hát chuyên kiều lặng lẽ như tiếng sao diều diều lang thang và yêu cô gái bên nhà miệng xinh, anh nói thật thà mà có duyên. Tôi yêu bác nông phu đội sương nắng bên bờ ruộng sâu, vài ngàn năm đứng trên đất nghèo, mình đồng ra sắt không phai màu. Tiêm mao nâu những mẹ quê chỉ biết cầm lao, những trẻ quê bạn với đàn trâu. Áo ơi tấm mao nâu duyên mình đi từ cõi rừng sâu, dắt dìu nhau về tới Cà Mau. Áo ơi tôi yêu biết bao người ly lê trần và còn ai nữa, những anh hùng của thời xa xưa, những anh hùng của một ngày mai.
Miền Trung vọng tiếng, em xin em bé tên là Hương Giang. Đêm đêm khua ánh trắng vàng mà than. Phiên đông ba buồn quá cửa chờ, bên vẫn lâu thuyền võ đơm sâu. Ơi hò ơi hò, quê hương em nghèo lắm ai ơi, mùa đông thiếu áo, hè về thiếu ăn. Trời rằng trời hằn cơn lụt mỗi năm ơi, khiến đau thương thấm tràn ngập thuần an để lan biển khơi. Ơi hò ơi hò, chiều mưa nặng, cùng em xót chân liều thân chiếu mặn. Họ ơi, bao giờ máu dâng hết tuôn tràn, quê miền Trung thôi tiếp điêu tàn, cho em vang khúc ca nồng nàn. Ngày vui tan đau binh, con sơ sinh chiều đầu xóm xôn xao đón người chương trình, ngậm ngùi hân hoan tiếng cười đoàn viên. Họ ơi, ai là qua là thôn vắng, nghe sâu như chiều mưa nặng, cùng em xót chân liều thân chiếu mặn. Họ ơi, bao nhiêu máu dâng hết tuôn tràn, quê miền Trung thôi tiếp điêu tàn, cho em vang khúc ca nồng nàn. Ngày vui tan đau binh, con sơ sinh chiều đầu xóm xôn xao đón người chương trình, ngậm ngùi hân hoan tiếng cười đoàn viên.
Dừng chân trên bến khi chiều nắng chưa phai, từ xa thấp thoáng muôn tà áo tung bay, nếp sống vui tươi nỗi chân nhau đến nơi này. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, người sẽ như nước trên đường vắng qua màu, người ra thăm hỏi câu chào nói xôn xao, phố xa tên than đón chân tôi đến nơi này. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, la 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 la, tiếng cười cùng gió chan hòa niềm vui say sưa. La 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 la, ôi trời đẹp quá tràn bao ý thơ. Một tình yêu đến khi lời hát câu ca, để tình muốn xuống cho ngày tháng năm qua, sống mãi trong tôi bóng hôm nay sẽ không phai. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi. Dừng chân trên bến khi chiều nắng chưa phai, từ xa thấp thoáng muôn tà áo tung bay, nếp sống vui tươi nỗi chân nhau đến nơi này. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, người sẽ như nước trên đường vắng qua màu, người ra thăm hỏi câu chào nói xôn xao, phố xa tên than đón chân tôi đến nơi này. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, la 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 la, tiếng cười cùng gió chan hòa niềm vui say sưa. La 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 la, ôi đời đẹp quá tràn bao ý thơ. Một tình yêu đến khi lời hát câu ca, để tình yêu mến bao ngày tháng năm xa, sống mãi trong tôi bóng hôm nay sẽ không phai. Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn đẹp lắm, Sài Gòn ơi, Sài Gòn ơi. Thank you so much.
So that is Ánh Trần, Hoa Mai, and Thu Hương Nguyễn. The next song will be the last song for this group, Cường Lương. He's gonna sing a very vibrant song right here, okay?
lạc hồng 4.000 năm dòng máu đỏ tươi chảy trong tim mình nổi giống lạc hồng giống dòng tiên nguyện ôm bao đời đất mẹ nhịp chung hào hùng mãi còn vang bao lớp người đi ra nơi biển người hình bóng mẹ già đứng đợi con tạc vào xứ xanh Việt Nam ơi yêu mến ngàn nơi yêu lý che xanh có con sông chảy quanh nào ta hát khúc hát lạc hồng làm muôn cánh chim bay ra biển đông Việt Nam ơi hãy nắm chặt tay tiến bước đi lên viết thêm trang sử vàng nào ta hát khúc hát Việt Nam con cháu dòng tiền con cháu lạc hồng tự hào hai tiếng Việt Nam. Everyone say yeah. Thank you. I am Khương Lương, Lữ Chí Cường xin kính chào quý vị. Lời chúc sức khỏe là lời chào trân trọng nhất. Thank you. Everyone say yeah again. Thank you so much. Hey, sir! Hey! 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 Dòng máu lạc hồng 4.000 năm dòng máu đỏ tươi chảy trong tim mình nổi giống lạc hồng giống dòng tiên nguyên ôm bao đời đất mẹ hu ha hu nhịp trống hào hùng mãi còn vang bao lớp người đi ra nơi biên thùy hình bóng mẹ già đứng đợi con lạc vào xứ xanh Việt Nam ơi yêu mến ngàn đời yêu lý che xanh có con sông chảy quanh nào ta hát khúc hát lạc hồng làm muôn cánh chim ra biển đông Việt Nam ơi hãy nắm chặt tay tiến bước đi lên viết thêm trang sử vàng nào ta hát khúc hát Việt Nam con cháu dòng tiền con cháu lạc hồng tự hào hai tiếng Việt Nam tự hào hai tiếng Việt Nam quý vị ơi. Thank you. Xin cảm ơn sự cổ vũ rất nhiệt tình của quý bà quý vị. Hey! Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thought I was prepared, but I can't follow that. Good evening. My name is Matt Vriesman. I'm a history teacher at East Kentwood High School, and it has been one of the great honors and privileges of my entire career to work on this project. Lay, thank you for sharing your story. Miss Tran, I should say. Thank you for sharing your story. Students, thank you for having the bravery and the courage to tell your stories. Tonight we're going to hear from Miss Tran and 4 of our students. There were over 20 students who participated in collecting artifacts and interviewing their families. And these are stories that need to be told, and now they're going to be preserved in our city archives and searchable in the Grand Rapids Public Museum's collections page. So, this is an incredible project. You guys are truly adding to the history of our community. The GR Stories program is a wonderful asset to our entire community, the way they collect and preserve local history. And of course, as a history teacher, I'm incredibly thankful that something like GR Stories exists. Last year, one of my highlights of the year was having the ability to take some of our East Kentwood students to a GR Stories event, which I thought, wow, this is just the coolest thing we could possibly do. And now tonight, at a GR Stories event, you guys are the stories. So again, thank you so much for sharing. This year, the museum welcomed the Asian Student Union multiple times. They took us up, I think upstairs. What floor are we on? Yep, upstairs, the newcomers exhibit, where the story of all the people who have come to West Michigan is told. It's told through stories of work, stories of play, stories of some prejudice, and stories of resilience and community building. And using the framework of the newcomers exhibit, our students interviewed their families to collect their stories. And I'm so excited for you to hear them tonight. We're going to build on this project next year. We want to open it up to many more East Kentwood students, have the ability to celebrate their identities and to share their stories in partnership with the Grand Rapids Public Museum. So again, thank you for the Grand Rapids Public Museum for partnering with East Kentwood and for uplifting our student stories and for preserving our student stories. But tonight, of course, we are here to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon, which marks 1975, 20 years plus of US foreign policy aimed at stopping the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. And in April 30, 1975, the US retreated from Saigon. That led to a chain of events where 2 million people from Vietnam had to leave their country and seek refuge somewhere else. Of the 2 million people who left Vietnam, about 800,000 people were able to safely make it to other countries, including the United States, where President at the time, Gerald R. Ford from Grand Rapids, was a champion of refugee rights and really pushed Congress to pass the first strong refugee bill that we had ever passed. And tonight, as Dr. Baker said, we're going to hear about the legacy of that decision. So as you're listening to these students and Ms. Tran's powerful story, think about that, right? Policy decisions that we make communally through our democracy have long impacts. And tonight you're going to hear about those. But okay, let's get to the stories. It is my great honor to introduce my friend and my colleague, the 2021 Art Teacher of the Year, and just an incredibly, I knew she was a hard worker, but the last 6 months, wow, all the things that you can do in the course of one class period is amazing to me. You're an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your story. Everybody, welcome Ms. Tran.
Aid here. I think I can do this without my reading glasses. Matt. All right, I'm going to try to do this without crying. Okay. I'm going to share my story. And at the very beginning, in January, when we asked our students to share their stories, we did have some challenges, and so we needed to model And so here's my story. School was interrupted again. The constant noise above my head seemed to get louder and louder each day. Sometimes a loud boom shook the earth, and I felt it throughout my body. Another day of uncertainty as I walked to school with my cousin Hoa in the hot sun. We passed dirt roads lined with bamboo, banana trees, patches of farmland with half-grown lettuce, and finally a small wooden makeshift stall filled with sweet and sour snacks. The last left turn on the dirt road leads us to the elementary school, trường tiểu học xóm mới, a place I have known since kindergarten. It was April 1975. My family had just buried my 19-year-old brother. He was killed on the front line. I never knew grief until his death. After the funeral, we resumed our daily schedule. For me, it was going to school every day, with the exception of Sunday. Getting back to the rhythm of life was not meant to be. Last week marks the 50th anniversary of my escape from Vietnam, a war-torn country. As I reflect on this momentous time, I am filled with gratitude for all the blessings in my life, which I will touch on later. Like so many of our students here, I can relate to what it's like to start a new life in a foreign country. The anxiety of the unknown can be overwhelming. It freezes you. And like so many of our students, our journey to America was a necessary one. 50 years ago, a little girl packed a bag with 2 days' worth of clothing and a pocket-sized hymn booklet. She was told that her family was going on a vacation by the seaside. Finally, a respite from the increasing noise that occurred day and night. 3 days of leisure with absolutely nothing to do. Teenagers, that's called boredom. During the day, we played on land. At night, we were told to cram into the little boat and stay silent. On the third day, at the break of dawn, the radio blasted the news that the North Vietnamese tanker had plowed down the presidential palace's gate. The boat engine roared, and off we go. Go where? Thailand? The Philippines? Where to? Half an hour on the sea, and everyone was sick. A naval ship was spotted far away. Are we sure? Who are they? We think we saw an American flag. Yes, indeed it was. A white t-shirt tied to a pole to signal our coming to the vessel. The elders were hoisted up first, then the babies, then it was my siblings and I. A commercial fishing net lowered. We stepped in. My entire body could have slipped through one of those openings. Petrified. I thought my soul left my body. One mishap and I could have plunged into the sea. We held onto the netting as tight as we could, our bodies mushed into one lump as the Americans pulled us up. The women screamed and wailed. The babies cried incessantly. The men yelled out incomprehensible orders. Chaos, chaos. Then soft whispers. The wailing and the crying came like waves. Only exhaustion quieted them down. So that is my journey the beginning of my journey to America. After that, the ship dropped us off in Guam, where my family stayed for 6 weeks, I think. Then we were flown to Pennsylvania, Indiana Town Gap, another refugee camp, for 2 months. At the refugee camp in Pennsylvania, we met a hippie. Yeah. He's here in town. His name is Donald Hedinga, an English professor from Calvin. So, us siblings, we didn't have anything to do during the day. We just wandered the beautiful fields, the rolling hills with wild flowers. So my sister saw this hippie man. He says, "Hey, sir, teach us English." And he said, "No, I don't have time. I don't have time." We begged him, "Please, teach us English," because we know that that's the first skill that you must have when coming to a new country. He says, "Okay, I can give you guys 2 times a week for half an hour behind this church on the porch." Okay, so we met with him for an English class. We did that for a few weeks, and then he said, "Time for me to go home." "Where's home?" "Grand Rapids, Michigan." "Oh, please, when you go back there, could you find us a sponsor?" "I would try. I would do my best." He did his best, because within 2 weeks, we received a letter from Alcher Christian Reformed Church. They said that they would sponsor our entire family. So on September 15th of 1975, my family flew to Grand Rapids, Michigan. The church came and greeted us, drove us to a Tudor home on Etna Street. And they said, "This is your home. This is it." We were so excited, my brothers and I. Took off our shoes, ran around the house. What a beautiful house. What a beautiful home. There's a kitchen with tile flooring, a bedroom for all of us to cram in, 3 bedrooms with 7 people. And then we explored the house. There's rice in the pantry, fish sauce in the cabinet, clothes that fitted me, shoes as well. We were in heaven. So for 11 months, we lived in that house. During that time, my father, my older sister, and my older brother worked. And you might have heard on NPR yesterday, my dad took on a low-paying job, starting at $2.85 an hour at a paper manufacturing company. He, along with my sister and my brother, we saved our money, and we were able to buy a house 11 months later. So the second house was on Hazen. We were ecstatic. We labored away that first summer, scraping the paint inside, outside, and made it our home. Okay? I went to Alcher Elementary School, and the ESL program there was amazing. The teachers would pull us out an hour a day and taught us English. Mrs. Howard Skipper was the teacher there. Mr. Tuấn Phạm, still remember him, and a host of other teachers. I couldn't believe that these teachers are so nice, unlike the teachers that I knew in Vietnam. And throughout this time, we were enjoying the American life and rebuilding our lives. My mother was in Vietnam for 10 years. We didn't know if she was alive or not. We didn't hear from her until 2 years later with a letter. I remember our family was passing that letter around and crying, "She's alive, she's alive." It took us 10 years to sponsor her here. So I'd say if we didn't have those sponsors during the first year, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Did you know that when we moved to Grand Rapids, my dad had $20 in his pocket, and we held on to that money as if it's a bag of gold. we had nothing. You know what my first possession was in America? The first thing that I own and that I can call mine, it's all mine. So there was a neighborhood girl, Amy Cam, who would join me this Friday. She lived around the block. She saw some new neighbors. So she would come to my door, knock on my door every day. Can you come out and play? My name's Amy, this blonde hair, blue eye girl. So sweet. And then later on, she introduced me to the Grand Rapids Public Library. She said, you can come in here and check out any books you want to. Really? So at first, the first few months, I checked out books under her card. Then she got tired of going to the library with me because I wanted to go every day. She said, did you know that you can apply for your own card? Really? Wow. They gave me my card. I didn't even have any ID to prove that this is me. Filled out the card, off I go to the library every day. Because you know what? Everything in there is free. I can learn, I can check out magazines, books, LP, everything. So I started out with board books, car, cat, dog, blah, 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 blah. One letter word, I mean one word per page. And then eventually to the red dog, whatever, okay? Charlie, Encyclopedia, Charlie Brown, okay, all those things. And so that's unheard of in Vietnam. You don't have anything for free. Not even education. You have to pay. And so I am forever grateful to this land that afforded me the life that I have right now. And I'm grateful for the people that have sponsored us, had faith in us. They didn't even know us. And they opened their homes and their hearts. I remember Mr. Basher, who took us to Hardy Dam every summer so us kids can go swimming and have a picnic. We almost gave him a heart attack every time because my brothers and I were very competitive. And we would swim across the dam, okay? I would not let my brother beat me in anything, even if it means swim, 50 feet across the dam or whatever it might be. He dived off the diving board, I dived off, I didn't even know how to swim. I said, if they can swim, I can too. I can float. So, and then there's Mrs. Wendy Young, we call her. Here's a total stranger that took us to every dentist, every doctor appointment, and then took us to buy new shoes, clothing. Our birthday, she would ask me, what do you want for your birthday? I remember one year I wanted Skipper and a picnic. Okay, and she made it happen. So there are angels in this world. Are you going to be an angel? Doing little things for other people without asking for anything in return. And you don't even know them. You don't even know their history. You don't even know where they're coming from or whatever. You just do it out of the goodness of your heart. That's the America that I know. That's the America that I want to keep forever in my heart. Generous people doing wonderful things for other people without asking for anything in return. That's my story. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us, Ms. Tran. And now it is my honor to introduce our first student speaker. We will hear from, like I said, 4 of them. We had over 20 students participate. So first, I would like to introduce our Asian Student Union president and former AP US History legend, Jennifer Pham.
Distinguished guests, honored colleagues, and respected members of the audience, greetings to you all. My name is Jennifer Pham, and I am a 12th grade student at East Kentwood High School. I have had the honor and privilege to be standing in front of you today to talk about my part in the project and the impact it has resonated with me. I am 100% Vietnamese, yet I have never felt 100% connected to my roots. I've grown up with the experiences that my mother and father gave me, wearing áo on tet, using the pinky method to measure how much water I put in the rice pot, apple slices after arguments. But I was born in Michigan, and I have never visited the homeland. The home that was once a paradise had turned into a tragedy, something that we never talked about, and yet something I longed to know more. This is not my story, it's theirs. As a person involved in this project, I interviewed Dinh Van Pham, my ông nội, and Thong Pham, my father. My grandpa was born in the city of Saigon, and just like many others, the Vietnam War caused the end to everything he knew. As a former general and driver in the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, the corruption of the South prompted the urgency to flee for all soldiers of the war. As the Viet Cong initiated a total lockdown of the country, the future was clear for an enemy, escape or death. On April 30th, 1975, the day the communists won, my grandpa was tuned into the radios, where traps laid ahead in the safe havens of hospitals and police stations. In a spur of the moment, he escaped in an ambulance heading toward the Tan Son Nhat airport. Without looking back, he traveled from location to location, days at an airport hangar in Thailand, weeks at a camp in Guam, then 5 to 6 months at a refugee camp in Fort Chaff, Arkansas. It was dissociating, leaving behind his wife and 4 kids, but he knew he had to if he wanted to survive. At that time, a Reformed church in Holland sponsored his move to Holland, Michigan. In the first couple years, the church helped him settle into a house with clothes and utilities. Every week in the small and cramped little house, someone came to pick him up and get groceries. This was their new life. After a couple more years, he moved from Holland to Grand Rapids in search of new opportunities. It took 9 years to sponsor his family over to the States. Initially arriving in the Midwest, he had sent a letter to Vietnam to tell him that he was alive and a plan was in motion. And yet, my grandma and father never got the letter because the government had blocked it. For years, they didn't even know he was alive. It was devastating times, years of sorrow, darkness, and desolation as the home they once knew was shattered in mere seconds. As my father recalls the experience, he states that all you could do was sell things at your house and survive. My father, his siblings, and my grandmother arrived in Grand Rapids, Michigan on December 23, 1984. He is the second youngest out of his siblings and was only 8 years old. Acclimating to this new environment was a challenge. The language barrier was the most difficult, and when they spoke, people really had to listen before they could understand them. They all grew up in a small house on Cable Street, attending a bilingual school called Sherwood Park due to their English being rudimentary at best. Eventually, they attended Granville Junior High, facing countless bullying and defaming insults, being the first Vietnamese students in the Granville area. Field day was a highlight of my father's childhood growing up. The running, the games, the laughter. It was truly memorable because it occurred every year, but it was also the only time that they had truly recognized him as a human instead of an immigrant. While he grew up and attended Granville High School, his race did not stop him from becoming a varsity soccer player, a varsity track runner, and a varsity wrestler. He graduated from Ferris State University with a degree in product engineering in 1997, finding jobs that had him create dyes for cars until his entrepreneurship led him to establish his own business, a family-owned nail salon. The world was slowly getting better, and my family adapted. My grandpa attended temple to try and make sense of what was lost, and he still goes to the Buddhist temple Julin Sun every week. He is now living off his retirement after 44 years of working at Herman Miller. My father attended the local coffee shop built for the Vietnamese community, participating in bands, and later creating a soccer club called the Grand Rapids Vietnamese Soccer Team, a method of enduring. With due time, he conquered his fear of flying to Vietnam after years of learning to live without it. Even with the punishments the war had casted upon them, their dignity is what kept them alive, and it is what drives my motivation to establish my own safe community. I have been born and raised in Grand Rapids and attended Kentwood Public Schools since preschool, and I am truly proud to be a part of the #1 most diverse school in the state, which is truly something to celebrate. As my 4th year I had the sole honor to run as the 6th generation student president of the Asian Student Union organization at my school. For years, I struggled to embrace who I was, a small Vietnamese girl in a system that was constantly trying to fight against her, and sheltered myself by disillusioning my character into a world that wasn't mine. In the ASU bylaws, we clearly state this: the Asian Student Union's message is to educate, inspire, and positively impact our outlying communities through honoring and embodying the Asian heritage. Home is not the place you live in, but it's where you make it out to be. ASU has brought me my own comfort and solidarity, providing a place where we, as Asian Americans, can come together and celebrate our rich identities. I am privileged by my experiences and opportunities to be able to cultivate a path for many others to call this their home. Now, I am a senior, where I am less than 2 weeks away from walking the stage of graduation. I have an opportunity to drive my own discussions, and while I am not moving countries, I am moving far from home for the next step in my future. Bringing my family honor, I will be attending the University of Michigan for the next 4 years to major in cellular and molecular biomedical science and minor in political science, fostering a career in emergency medicine. I follow my sister, who I will join in the medical field, reflecting on the amount of care that my family provided me in order for I to provide it back. I understand the risks that my grandpa took to write his own story, and I know I will never be able to fully repay his efforts, my father's efforts, or my mother's efforts, but I recognize them. We are not native-born American white, but we have the American dream, and I will not disrespect all of their hard work to get to where we are now. Never should they be ashamed to tell their story, because I will tell it for everyone to hear. It has been 50 years since my grandpa arrived from Vietnam, and 41 years for my father. I had the honor to tell their story, something that hasn't been discussed for decades, and I am incredibly grateful. I understand now where I come from, and I cherish every action more. As I get older, I won't remember them for the troubling years at the beginning of their immigration or their journey across the seas, but I will remember them for fighting so hard to ensure I have the best life possible. Their story is not what defines their legacy. Their legacy is the homes they paid off. Their legacy is the store my father worked so hard to build. Their legacy is my sisters and cousins, and I am their legacy. Thank you for listening to my story. I am so honored to introduce you to my very good friend who will also share his story. Thank you all. Please welcome Ethan Ling.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ethan Lin, and I'm a senior at East Kentwood High School. Before I get started, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to tell my family story. And I also wanted to express my gratitude to my grandparents, John Lin and Kathy Trin, and my father, Min Lin, for not only being my interviewees, but also for their unwavering support in my life. As I stand on this podium today reflecting on this project, I realize that I stand here not just as a student about to graduate, but as descendant of heroes. Not just your classic superhero in a cape, but heroes with the strength of resilience, who risked their lives so I could have the life I have now. A yellow star. For many, this yellow star and the bright red background represents the Vietnamese flag. But for South Vietnamese families like mine, the upbringing of this yellow star was the day everything changed. April 30, 1975. This was the very day that a country fell, and it marked the rise of unspeakable suffering. This suffering is something I could never fathom. In 1976, my grandpa, a member of the South Vietnamese secret police, was arrested by the communists. For 1 straight year, he was chained to a metal rod with 15 other prisoners, interrogated daily, and stripped of his freedom. "Where were you born? Where did you go to school?" they would yell violently, yet his dignity never wavered. He survived, but Vietnam was no longer the place he called home. So in 1979, with desperation and hope in their hearts, my grandparents departed on a fishing boat from Buckleo, Vietnam. They drifted from Vietnam to Malaysia to Indonesia, finally settling in a refugee camp on Kuku Island. In our interviews, they described this journey as sickening and trifling, yet they believed it was their only chance at a future they were willing to risk their lives for, not not just for them, but for themselves and their children. And so on August 7, 1980, they arrived in West Michigan, sponsored by Robert Winkle from East Leonard Christian Reformed Church. My grandfather immediately took a job at John Whitcomb Furniture Company, where he faced discrimination and injustice. He was denied raises and blamed unfairly, but like his time in prison, he never gave up. And my grandma, on the other hand, stayed home to raise their kids, then got a job at Grand Rapids Public School. They worked during the day, learned English at night, and through it all, they raised a whole family. And their strength never wavered. And their children, especially my father, carried that strength forward. Forced to grow up fast, he worked as a paper boy to help raise his siblings. And even now, he's the kind of person who would stop to help a stranger jump their car or shovel our neighbor's driveway, never asking for anything in return. His actions, his generosity, are echoes of the man who raised him. They're echoes of the people who sacrificed everything for him and his siblings. Today, I stand on the foundation my grandparents built with their hands. I'm the product of their sacrifice. I'm the legacy of their courage and their hope. While we have settled into West Michigan, we will never forget what it took to get here. So as I live, I want to embrace their hard work. Their resilience is my motivation. It is my motivation to push forward through all the struggles that I might face. And it is why I work hard to prove to them that their sacrifices weren't for nothing. It is a gift I can never repay, so I'm forever thankful. And while their pain is unimaginable, I've had my fair struggles too. From an immigrant household to school, the culture shock for me was an obstacle. I struggled to find a place of belonging until I joined the Asian Student Union my freshman year, ASU for short. Like them, I resisted against my inhibitions. I fought and searched for a place, and I finally found one serving as treasurer of ASU this year. The Asian Student Union was my version of West Michigan. It was my version of the home that I was looking for. It, along with the resilience from my grandparents, inspired me to work hard. And eventually, I was admitted to the University of Michigan for pharmacy, where I will be spending the next 4 years of my life immersing myself in research for treatments against diseases. Now it is my time to write my own story, to build my family's legacy, upon my family's legacy. The trauma of war, the refugee camps, and the discrimination, they're not just stories. They're the scars etched into the soul of our community. My grandparents' struggles were something I will never discern. However, their resilience lives in me. So as I prepare to graduate and as I approach the new chapter of my life, I want to maintain the resilience and honor their legacy, the Lin family legacy. Thank you. And up next, I want to welcome you, one of ASU's next co-presidents, Amberly Nguyen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amberly Nguyen. I'm currently a junior at East Kentwood High School. I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight and giving me the opportunity to share the story of my grandparents' immigration, Quang and Phuong Tran. It means a lot to be able to honor them and reflect how they made their way to the United States. They were the foundation of our family, helping us stay connected while life was uncertain and helped to shape who we are today. Quang and Phuong's life began in Bac Ninh, North Vietnam. They grew up surrounded by war and fear, and in 1954, they made the brave decision to move south to Saigon to find safety. There, they built a family with 10 children, even though the uncertainty of war lingered outside their door. When the Vietnam War ended and the North took over the South in 1975, they lost almost everything: their jobs, their security, and their home. They tried to escape by boat, but missed their chance. So they stayed, surviving by running a small business and farming just to feed their family. And in 1980, they made the heartbreaking decision to send their 13-year-old son, my uncle, Mant, to America alone, hoping he could build a future for them. It took 14 long years, but in 1994, Mant sponsored his parents, and 3 siblings, including my mother, Ann Tran, who was 17 years old at the time. They settled in California at first, but found a strong community in Grand Rapids, Michigan. thanks to Miss Tran and her family, who helped them find jobs and settle down here. In West Michigan, life wasn't easy, but Guang and Phuong found hope again. Guang worked in a manufacturing, and both of them found an active role in the local Vietnamese Catholic community together. Together with other refugees, they were able to help purchase Our Lady of La Vang Church, giving Vietnamese family a place to worship, gather, and feel at home. Even with the small Vietnamese population and language barriers, faith and family helped them build a new life. Over the years, they welcomed more children and grandchildren to America, creating a legacy rooted in love, resilience, and service to others. Hearing their story taught me more than I expected. I joined this project in ASU because I wanted to understand where I came from. Not just the traditions or language, but the sacrifices that were made so I could stand here today. What moved me most was when my mom told me about my grandpa studying day and night for his U.S. citizenship test. He failed the first time, but instead of giving up, he worked even harder to pass the second time in the year 2000. Standing proudly with tears in his eyes as he became an American citizen, that moment wasn't just about the paperwork. It was about everything that they had overcome to be here. Their story made me realize how deeply rooted my family's strength is. It's easy to forget growing up here, but my family's journey to America was not guaranteed. They risked everything to create opportunities for future generations, including me. Their resilience helps me understand what it means to be American. It's not just about where you were born, but about the courage to hope and to give back to the community around you. Because of them, I dream of carrying on the legacy by pursuing my education, contributing to the community, and making sure that my family remains at the center of my life. I hope to pursue work in the medical field to honor my grandpa and aunt's battle with bone and pancreatic cancer, using my career to make a tangible difference in the lives of patients and families facing similar challenges. This is a way to channel my personal experiences into compassion-driven care and meaningful impact. Their journey reminds me that no dream is too big when it's fueled by love and determination. Thank you. It's my honor to introduce our next speaker, Christina Litt.
You'll have to excuse any leftover tears from the previous speeches. Good evening. I'm Christina Lay, a junior at East Kentwood High School. I'm here to tell my parents, Big Auntie Pham and Dien Huilei's story. My parents were born in 1968 in the city of Hai Phong. My father grew up hearing the US planes drop bombs during the war. Growing up impoverished with little opportunities that they could afford without higher education, my parents got married and decided to pack up their life in Hai Phong for America after hearing news that the United States was accepting refugees. This was the late 90s and would be one of the last major waves of Vietnamese immigrants. So they waited for interviews in Saigon to be accepted as refugees in the US. When they were finally approved, my parents boarded a long flight from Vietnam to South Korea to Los Angeles to Detroit and finally to Grand Rapids. They had brought nothing but the clothes on their backs and some toiletries. Having no other family in the United States to rely on, West Michigan, the location assigned to my parents, was their only option. In 1999, age 31, my parents gained the opportunity to chase the quintessential American dream in the United States, the land of opportunity. My father claimed that your attitude reflects how people perceive you, so he put on a brave face. In a country where they didn't know the language or customs, my parents worked and worked and worked. My dad still works at the same job he got all those years ago at Scott Group Studio, spending days making carpets and nights poring over a thick Vietnamese English dictionary to understand a new language. During this period, my dad recalls how the community of Vietnamese workers he had at his job would help him acquire his driver's license by helping him get his hours in and showing him the ropes. This community partially filled the longing to see their own family that was now oceans away. Throughout my life, my parents have made sure to preserve that culture, from international calls where I awkwardly fumbled through Vietnamese with my family to the comforting taste of home-cooked meals, like a warm bowl of pho on a rainy day. This project was an opportunity for me to learn about my parents. After all, their story isn't exactly something that comes out over dinner. Over the years, I've picked up bits and pieces of their story from their offhanded comments or when they reminisce about their lives in Vietnam. However, I felt like this project was an opportunity to shine a spotlight on my parents' story and, in a broader sense, the story of West Michigan's Vietnamese community. My parents' journey made it possible for me to be uniquely Vietnamese American. Part of this unique identity meant there would always be a certain cultural disconnect with my relatives back in Vietnam and the community here in the US. To my cousins in Vietnam, I'm the American cousin, but here in the United States, I'm Vietnamese. To my cousins in Vietnam, I'm the cousin who speaks in the old-fashioned way my parents taught me. Here in the United States, I'm a Vietnamese student with a whole different culture from those around me. One aspect of Vietnamese culture is burning incense, also known as tháp hương. It is a way to commemorate and honor those who have come before you, from ancestors to parents to elders. The incense I burn now is a continuation of my parents, grandparents, and other ancestors. It also affirms a sense of responsibility to uphold my family connection and legacy. It is a way of acknowledging the efforts, sacrifices, and love that have brought me into an enduring network of respect. In the rugged individualism America projects, I try to embrace the familial connection and collectivism embraced by my Vietnamese heritage. After all, I am the sum of those who came before me. Our stories show the Vietnamese community has made West Michigan a better place to live, to do business, to learn, and to grow for everyone. There tends to be a focus on what the United States has done for immigrants and not what immigrants have done for the United States. Tonight, we are adding truth to the historical record. As descendants of immigrants, our existences prove that their sacrifices weren't for nothing. We carry the stories of those before us, and in a system not always in our favor, we toil, we translate, and we break generational curses. Every achievement is another word written in our legacy.
Are there any more dry eyes in the house? Or bring out the Kleenex. All right, let's shift gear. The Asian Student Union's dancers have been working really hard because we presented to them this song. The song that we chose for this dance is really meaningful. Although Vietnam was divided by the North and the South, the composer of this song used a metaphor of a boy and a girl, the boys from the South, girls from the North, and they found love. So despite all of the suffering and the challenges through our stories that you've just heard, Vietnam is now one country, and it has finally enjoyed peace. So let's welcome the dancers up on the stage and listen to Tình Bắc Duyên Nam, love from the North, love from the South.
Testing.
từ phương Bắc đã qua dòng sông sông dài, tìm đến phương này một nhà thân ai. Ơi tình Bắc duyên Nam là duyên, tình chúng muôn đời ta đắp xây. Gặp nàng, nàng là thôn nữ, mắt duyên cười say môi hồng, tình ngát hương lòng, mộng vang chúc bóng. Ơi mặt đất dâng hương là hương, gần lao muôn đời ta đắp xây. Cùng góp bàn tay thương yêu nhau rồi, ngô khói hai mùa ngát một niềm vui, chung vui cho thơm hương đời lúa vàng tình ơi. Ngày mai hạnh phúc nơi ơi gieo cười, quê hương thôi thao dẫu Nam xanh núi cách chia, ta đem yêu thương về cho phương Bắc. Tìm về mảnh vườn hoa thắm, hái bông tầm xuân trao nàng, lời hát ân tình hồng hồng đôi má. Ơi đời sống yên vui là vui, dìu nhau đi vào chung bóng mơ. Góp bàn tay thương yêu nhau rồi, ngô khói hai mùa ngát một niềm vui, chung vui cho thơm hương đời lúa vàng tình ơi. Ngày mai hạnh phúc nơi nơi gieo cười, quê hương thôi đau dẫu ngăn sông núi cách chia, ta đem yêu thương về cho phương Bắc. Tìm về mảnh vườn hoa thơm, hái bông tầm xuân trao nàng, lời hát ân tình hồng hồng đôi má. Ơi đời sống yên vui là vui, dìu nhau đi vào chung bóng mơ. Đời sống yên vui là vui, dìu nhau đi vào chung bóng mơ. Đời sống yên vui là vui, dìu nhau đi vào chung bóng mơ.
Wow, thank you so much, students. Again, Lei, for sharing those stories. I'm so excited that those are going to be a part of our cities and our communities' permanent record. What a beautiful job and a beautiful legacy for your families and their courage. So thank you again.
Okay. Well, is the reception still downstairs? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our stories. Okay, without any further ado, let's go downstairs and party.